Yes, Ankush.
Okay. So what I have configured here is we have a couple of network devices that are there. This is the same diagram that we had used for Cisco ACS lab, right? And then we have connected it to our network, like my LAN actually. So I can access these devices if I give it in the same IP range, right? I can access these devices directly from my browser. So this is a Cisco ISE just freshly configured, what we had installed last time. Okay, no configuration has been done, so we'll start in that one first. Okay. We'll log in with the admin credentials. So application status. Instead of ACS, here we will give Cisco ISE. So it is taking a little bit time because Cisco ISE is little bit CPU and memory intensive. Okay, but in the actual Cisco device, it will not take that much of time. So as you can see, we have the Cisco, like Cisco ISE is running fine. All the, what is say, all the services are running fine. So this is the one that we have to first of all observe. Apart from this, now we want to check what is the IP address. So we can check show interface gigabit, right? Let me share this screen. So if you see here, right? So show application status Cisco ISE. We have already given. Okay, and it had given me all the services that are running, right? While the services are coming, we can, what we can do is we can type https //192. We have to get the IP address. First of all, let's wait again. Okay, so all the services are running fine. Now we have to just check on show interface gigabit 0. Okay, so the IP address that is given is 192.168.1.231. Okay. 231. 231. once we log in, okay, it is directly logging in, but once we 1 second, I can log it out. So once we log in, right, so we'll get this screen, and once we log in, we'll get the dashboard. Cisco ISE license is free for 90 days, so you can download it and you can install it on UNG Peanut Lab and utilize it for 90 days. Okay, so first thing that we have to do is we have to check for the device administration license. So we have to go to administration. Okay, inside administration we have to go to deployment. Okay, so it is saying that it is a single standalone. So usually we deploy the Cisco ISE whenever it is in deployment, right, we will be having a primary and secondary. Okay, so if you go through the last session, right, so whenever we are implementing Cisco ISE, there are some personas that are there: PAN, PSN. Okay, so we can whenever we are implementing that, right, we will be having primary PAN as well as secondary PAN. So PAN is for administration, policy administration mode. Okay, then we will be having PSN. PSN is basically to which the network devices will be contacting, or the endpoints will be contacting for authentication, authorization and accounting, right? So that will be nearer to the network device or at the endpoint, the PSN. Okay, so if and then we have monitoring MNT. So for all the logs will be what we say, it will be logged in the MNT node. So there are three personas in Cisco ISE, right? So whenever we are implementing this, we will be always having redundancy. So that is what it is showing now, that there is no redundancy actually. It is in a standalone mode. Okay, so in a big deployment, what happens is in our data centers we will be having PAN. Okay, where the management will happen. Okay, the PAN node is policy administration node from which the management will happen. Then we will have PSNs. So PSNs is the what we say is the ISE node to which the network devices will be contacting. Okay, so if you want to see, let me open this one. We will start. So this we had taken it earlier in earlier session. So in the data center we will be having PAN. Okay, so from where we will be doing the administration. So all the policy management, everything we will be doing from PAN, just like Panorama in our Palo Alto, right? Okay, so it will be in redundancy. We will have primary PAN and we will have secondary PAN. Okay, apart from that, then for each site, okay, we will be having endpoints. Okay, so let me open it. So what will happen is the endpoints or the network devices, say we have a router or for Tacacs, right? So for AAA, it will be contacting the PSN. So this is the PSN. Okay, PSN. This is also ISE. Okay, just a function of ISE, right? So here we cannot do any changes. So in PSN we cannot do any changes. Okay, so these are all PSNs. This will be either in region specific or site specific. Like in India we might be having PSN, redundant PSN. In US we'll be having redundant PSN, right? So if we have it in some other region, right, we'll be having dedicated PSN for that region actually. Okay, so it will be near, it will be like 100 milliseconds, or it will not be very far from the endpoints or the route or the network devices. Why? Because the authentication has to happen, right? So it will not be very far from the network devices, or the authentication will take time. Okay, so mostly it should be local or at least in the region. Okay, and this PSNs, all the policies are being pushed from the PAN. Okay, and all the changes can be done only on the primary PAN. Secondary PAN will be sitting idle. Okay, so if anything happens for the primary PAN, then only secondary PAN will become active. This part is clear. PAN, PSN, and then we have MNT. So MNT is for logging. So all the logs are maintained in MNT. Okay, this part is clear. The personas of Cisco ISE.
Yes.
So so if you see on our lab, actually all the three are on the same. Okay, all the three personas, right? Administration, monitoring, policy, service are on the same. Okay, it is a lab, right? So basically we only have one. Okay, so if you have more resources, you can, now itself with one resource, like one ISE, it is little bit slow. So if you have more resources, you can add two Cisco ISE and you can do the lab for that also. Okay, but as of now for this lab, we just want to test the Cisco ISE. So what we have to do, we have to go inside this server. Okay, Tacacs in Cisco ISE is called as device administration. Okay, we have to enable the device administration. By default, device administration will not be enabled. Okay. Let's wait 1 second. Okay, so if you see here, this is the Cisco ISE details. As of now, it is administration PAN, it is monitoring as well as policy PSN. Okay, now we want to enable device administration, device admin service. Okay, so we are enabling device admin service and we'll save it. Okay, so this is the first step. We have to enable, once we have configured the Cisco ISE, if we want to configure Tacacs, we have to enable device admin services. Is this part clear?
Yes.
Okay. Next one is we have to create user, like same like Cisco ISE, we have to create users and groups as you want. Okay, so we can create a user actually. Okay. By default there is no user, so we can create a user. Say, okay, it will be part of the internal users. Password is we have created the admin, and then we can make it part of a group also. Okay, as of just if we have network admin group, so we can create multiple groups like NOC group. We can create a group for security auditors, right? And we can create a separate group for NOC team, or L1. If we have L1 L2 team, we can create separate group wise. Okay, so as of now, I'm for the testing purpose, I'm just creating one user. Okay, that is network admin. I am submit. Password will not match. So this is done. Now if you want, we can create a group also. Okay, that is not a must, but if you want, you can create a group and we can make this users, multiple users as part of that group. Okay, so these two are done. Next is we have to add the network devices. That is the third step. We have to add the network devices to the Cisco ISE. Okay, we'll go to the network devices. We'll just click on add. Okay, if you remember the IP address from Cisco ACS topology, let me just check 1 second. So if you come here, right, you can see we had already configured the AAA part earlier for ACS, right? Yeah, it is configured. So let's see what is the server IP address. I have kept the same server IP address as Tacacs, right? Whatever we had given for Tacacs, we have kept the same IP address. So Tacacs 231. Okay, so I'm kept the same 231 for the Cisco ISE. Okay, and the key is Tacacs key is Cisco 0123. Okay, so let's add these two IP address and the network device. Sorry, my machine is hanging a lot today. Am I audible? Like, is there?
You were like froze.
Correct. My machine is hanging a little bit actually. So that is the reason. Let me try to close some applications. Okay, so I've closed all the applications. So where were we? We checked on the IP addresses. Okay, and Tacacs configuration is done on the network device already. So we will come back to the network device here on the Cisco ISE. We'll give a name, say switch 1. Okay, IP address is 192.168.1.233. Okay, and we are going to add it as a Tacacs client, and password was CISC 0 1 2 3, right? Is C capital? I think C is capital. What do you think? C is capital or small?
Is cap.
Let's go 0 1 2 3. Okay, so we have added. Let's submit here. Okay, same thing, we can either duplicate. Okay, then we can just change it to switch to 34. So we have configured two network devices. Okay, to configure network devices, we have to go to network resources, and network resources we have to go to network devices, and we have to add it. Okay, it's almost same like Cisco ACS. Is this part clear?
Yes.
So this is the step 3 that we have. Okay, now we have added the we have enabled the Cisco ISE service, we have added the user ID, we have added the network devices to the Cisco ISE. The next step is basically to configure the policy elements. Like we have to configure the shell profile that we had done in ACS, right? You remember what is a shell profile? Like the privilege levels, right? And what all commands the user has should be allowed. Okay, so those things we have to configure. Those are called policy elements. So we have to go to under device administration, there will be policy elements. Okay, under policy elements we have to go to results. Okay, see, almost similar to the Cisco ACS. Okay, and then we have to come here to Tacacs profile. Okay, in Tacacs profile we have to add, and here we can add anything, like we can say village, we can say full access. Okay, and this we are going to give as privilege 15. Okay, you remember, right, what is privilege? Like we can
Yes.
configure different privileges, right? And we can
Yeah.
assign different commands to each privilege. Privilege 15 will having full access, right? So we are creating a profile with shell access as full, and we are assigning privilege 15 to it. Is this part clear?
Yes.
Okay. It's almost similar to the Cisco ACS. Okay, we'll give submit. It's done. Then we'll create different command set. We can create different command set. Okay, so for lab purpose we'll just create full one, because we can say network admin. Okay, and then we can, you remember how we had enabled full access? Okay, before that, if you want, we can enable temporary access. Okay, so the temporary access, in the sense we can enable some specific commands. Okay, for let's start with that one first. So we can say knock admin cmd. Okay, now in knock admin cmd, what we are going to do is the knock admin should be able to do conft. Okay, so if we read config, it will not work, so we have to write full actually configure. Okay, and if we give only terminal, it will be just only terminal. So if we are not giving here, so all the after configure everything will work. Okay, apart from that, what all commands we can just give, one second. We have to give permit show. So all the show commands will work. Okay, if you want to give only specific show command, say for example show version, we can give it here. Okay, if you want to allow all the show commands, we can just give show. Okay, once they are in the configuration mode, they will not be able to do anything. Okay, so if we want to allow them to do something on the configuration mode, right? Say we need to allow them to go to interface. Okay, so we have to give here permit interface. Okay, and again in the interface they will be able to do nothing but shut, right? No shut. So we can assign some commands. Suppose they want to configure a routing protocol with these commands. Can they do? Can they configure a routing protocol with these commands?
Yes, because you have allowed the configure.
No, we will not be able to do it. Okay, because configure will just we will be able to get in the
Okay,
configuration.
okay, okay, okay. No, yeah.
But
I,
if you remember, we had in the first session that we had done with privilege level, we have to give each and every command. If you don't give any command, like any like specific command is missed, they will not be able to. So this type of access that we are providing, right, limited access, we might have to do trial and error multiple times. Like
okay.
suppose the NOC team is saying I want this access, so we'll have to sit with them and check what all commands are coming into play. Okay, and then we will have to allow those commands here. Okay, so
Yeah.
as of now what they can do is they can go into configuration mode, but they cannot configure anything. They can go into interface. Okay, they can go to any interface because we have not mentioned any argument. So they can go into any interface, but inside the interface they can only do shut. They cannot do anything.
Yes.
Okay, and they can run all the show commands. So these are the commands that the NOC team will be able to run. Okay, same as what we had done in Cisco ACS. Okay, then we can give a submit. Now for the network admin, right, we want to give full access. So how will we give full access? If somebody had attended the network like Tacacs Cisco ACS session, can somebody remember it? How we can enable full access, full all the commands?
I have to check that video.
Sheila, do you remember it? Okay.
I think that it's not providing any instruction.
If you leave it like it is now, will it grant full access like
No,
as
it will
default?
not grant access. It will be denied. So what we have to do is permit any command that is not listed below.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have not given any command here. So it will permit all the commands.
Okay.
Okay, same thing we had done in Cisco ACS also. You got this point?
Yeah.
Okay, this is for full access. Do a submit.
And if you want to block one, you only need to add it in the list below.
Correct. So if you
Okay.
want to deny some command, right? Rather than that, we can just allow some specific commands. Okay. Because there are a lot of commands. Okay. If you want to just deny, say, reload. Okay. So then we can give a deny reload. Like in this one, we can give. Here we can give reload. So what will happen actually? Permit any command that is not listed in below. Okay. So this command will not be allowed.
That's
Okay.
the one that it won't work.
Won't work. Okay. This is clear.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll do a save. So we have configured the shell, we have configured the commands. Now we have to attach it in the policy. So we have to go to the center under the device administration. We have to go to device admin policy set. You should not go to the policy. There is policy set available here also. Okay, but you should not go under this one, or you should not go under what we say here, network access. These are related to, this is related to radius. Okay, so this is related to guest access. Okay, what we are configuring is Tacacs. Tacacs is device administration in Cisco ISE. We have to go under Cisco ISE, you have to go under device admin policy set. Is this part clear?
Yes.
Okay. So the default rule is there. We can just take the default rule from there. Okay. Currently in the authorization, default is deny. Okay. So we can add a authorization rule. Okay. We can give name network admin access, and then we can give a condition, right? If you remember how the Tacacs work, it is condition and result, right? So we have to give the condition, right? What is the condition? If the user is, right, the user is okay, so internal user is so this is group actually, so we want to do for the user actually. One second. Or what we can do is, rather than user, we can create a group also. Okay, so what we can do is, we can go to the identities. Under identity, we have groups, user identity groups. We can create a group here. Okay, so there, as we mentioned earlier, there are two groups. One is user identity group and then endpoint group. So we have to create here user identity group. So we will create a network admin. Okay, submit, and in network admin we can add the user network admin. Okay, and then we can go to policy set font administration. We can add network admin policy. Okay, it's just a name, and here we can add attribute user identity group network admin, right? Yes. So if the user is part of network admin, okay, then we will use which command? We will be using we have already created it, right? This network admin. And shell profile will be full access. This part is clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now we can create one more. We can create one more group if you want. Okay. So we can create a group. We can create a group. Okay. Okay. As of now, there is no users in knock admin. Testing, if you want, we can create. So, and here we can add one more group, and that will be knock admin. Okay. So what we are going to say? We are going to say, if the user is part of knock admin, right? Use command, only allow this command. Okay, shell will be 15. We don't have to create another privilege. Okay, we can use the privilege level 15 itself, but the user will be only able to execute these commands. This part is clear?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
This is how we create the authorization rules. Okay. So as of now, we have one rule. We do not have users. Authentication policies. We can mention. Network device. Okay. IP address. Or if we have group also. So if we create group, actually, it is much easier actually. If we don't have group actually, then it is little bit like we have to find, but we have lot of parameters here. Okay, that we can utilize. Okay. Okay, so if the network device IP includes 10 like 192.168.1.233, then use the internal users. This part is clear?
Yes.
Okay. So now we have configured it. So we'll just save it here. Okay. And we'll try to access the network device. Okay. And now we have to access it using telnet 192.168.1.233. Right. We'll access it using telnet. Okay. See, now we are logged in.
Yes.
You are able to see, right? We are logged in using network admin. But do we have network admin user here? No.
Privilege 15.
Okay, so we are using Cisco ISE now. Is this part clear?
Yes.
Now we will try to log into 234. One second. Let's see. Oh, default is all actually. So it is taking the default route. Okay, so that is the reason it is not. Now we will go to the logs. Actually, to check the logs, we have to go to under operations, and we have to check for logs here. Okay, so what is it saying actually? When we try to access from switch 1, okay, so it went to authentication network devices. Okay, but when we try to log in with the switch 2, it is going to the default. You're able to see it, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then the authorization policy, what is it using? It is using the authorization policy network admin. Okay, so what we can do is, for testing purpose, we can do one thing. We can just give guest users. Okay, so default is guest user. Okay, so now when if I try to log into 234, what will happen?
Should allow it.
Right, so if you come here, you go to the live of logs, what is it showing? It's showing default.
Failing.
Correct, you're getting me, right? It is easy if we do the labs actually. Okay, we need to be able to understand actually, because there will be many rules. In big organization we'll have many rules actually. If we have only one network team, it will be just one single rule. Okay,
Yes, I get it.
if we have multiple network team, security team which has access to the network devices, right, we will have multiple rules. So multiple rules in the sense, first authentication is basically it can be we can create a group for firewall devices, we can create a group for routers, we can create a group for switches, right, WLC, we can create that type of group, and for each group we can create authentication policies. Okay, and we can create separate authorization policies also.
Okay.
So this part is clear. You have any doubts, or if you want any other Rodolfo, this is clear, right?
Yes, Santosh, you are right. Yeah.
Okay, Sheila, this is clear for you also?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is basically the same thing that we had done with Cisco ACS. Okay, we can do the same configuration using Cisco ISE, but in Cisco ISE it is called device administration. So first step is we have to enable the device administration service.
Services.
Okay, then we have to under deployment we will go to the server, we have to enable the service. Okay, and then second is we have to create the users or groups, right, that we have to go to device administration. We should not go to network access here, we have to go to device administration identities, right, and we can create the user, and then we can create user identity groups, right. And after that, if we are planning to use the local database, if we are planning to use active directory, okay, in our topology we have active directory also. So if we planning to use the active directory, we have to go to the external ID source. Okay, here we have to click on active LDAP, and we have to add our LDAP server. You getting me? Okay.
Yes.
So it is if we are planning to use the active directory, so at that time we have to use the external source here. Okay, and then when we are creating the policies, okay, instead of here giving what is saying authentication, giving the internal users, we will give the external source. Okay,
Yeah, I
that
get it.
active directory that we have created, right, we'll give that. So it will authenticate with the active directory. Okay, this part
Yes.
is clear.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so first step was enabling Cisco ISE service. Second step was in Cisco ISE we have to enable device administration. Second step was to create user and user group. Then we have to
Yes.
add the network devices. That is the third step. We have to add the network devices. We can create network device groups, for one for firewall, one for like different, or we can create it group location wise also. Okay, so we can create like a specific for US, then for Santo Domingo, for Montego Bay, or Manila, right? We can create different for Guatemala. We can create different locations, okay, or we can create different device types, groups, okay, and then we can add the network device into that group, okay. So that is step 3, and step 4 was to create policy
Policies.
elements. Policy elements is the shell that we are going to, the privilege level that we are going to use, and for with the each privilege level, what is the command set that we are going to use. Okay, we can use the privilege 15 also, and we can just restrict the commands. Okay, so it depends on how we want to do it. Okay, we can create different privilege level, and then we can assign for each privilege, we can assign a command set, or we can for with same privilege level, that is privilege 15, we can assign different command levels. Okay,
Okay.
once we have created the policy element, then we will go to the device admin policy set. Okay, that device admin policy set will be under device administration. Okay, we should not go to the radius policy set or guest admin policy set, right? We have to go into device admin policy set, and here we can configure the policies. We just have to, first is authentication, and then we have to do authorization. Okay, so authorization is for what level of access we have to provide. Here is where we, like in this section, we attach the command set and the shell profile. We can mention which user group will be having access. Okay, this is for the devices. We can create authentication policy, what all devices should hit this policy. This part is clear?
Yes.
Okay, so this is about the Tacacs configuration. Is it simple? What do you think?
Um, it's
So you have to
once
practice actually.
once
Once you
once you
practice it,
once
it
you
is easy.
practice it,
Yeah,
yeah, because more is like to find the correct options because you
correct,
have a lot of tabs that comes with the practice.
correct. So it can make a full network down actually if you do a wrong configuration, right? So just do the practice. 90 days evaluation version is there. You can do the practice. Now we are going to take the backup actually. We have to take the backup. So we will check the backup both from the front end and from the back end. Okay. So what we can do is we can go to the back end first. So for configuring the backup, right, we need a FTP server. Okay, so I've already configured, and that FTP server we need a username password. So we can configure, like there are many FTP servers that are available in internet, but we need a FTP server in which we can configure username password. So usually what we like, what I would recommend is FileZilla server actually. Okay, so FileZilla server is having, we can configure username passwords, right? So if you go to the gem box also, we have FileZilla server. See, FileZilla server is configured, so we can configure a user ID here, right? So this is for the backup, any backup that we want. So we can create a new user, add, okay, ICE BKB, or we can say network admin. Okay, so network admin, we can give a password. Okay, we can give a simple password, Cisco, and we can add the folder actually. Okay, so what we'll do is we can download. Okay, this part is clear.
Yes.
Okay, so we are, first of all, we have to configure a FTP server with username password. Okay, now once that is done, we will come to the Cisco ISE. Okay, we can go to admin. We come to the CLI login, and here we have to first of all check if already the backup is configured. Backup. So there is no backup, right? So for configuring the backup, we have to configure a repository actually. Okay, the FTP server, right? We have to configure the FTP repository. So for that, we have to type repository. Okay, ICE. You can say. Okay, you can give anything. Okay, you can give Cisco, you can give backup, anything. It's just the name actually. So I'm giving Cisco like ICE backup. Okay, and here what is the username that we had created? So user is you remember what is the network admin, right? Network admin, and password was okay. Now this can be also, the password can be encrypted also. So we can say it is plain text. You're getting me, right? This command is clear
Yes.
for you? Okay.
Yes.
Now URL, what is the URL for that? So we can just type URL will be FTP, and what is the my machine IP address? One second. It is 101, 192.168.1.101. So we will just give right FTP 192.168.1.101. This part is clear?
Yep.
Okay. So now we can do an exit, and we can just do a show. Repository, and the repository name was ICE. So it is not able to connect actually. Okay, so repository is not found. Windows repository, it was capital, I think, capital, right?
I was going to ask you if that matters.
See, it is trying to access. You're able to see, right?
Yeah, so it's sensitive to caps.
Yeah. Okay. So now if you see here, it is able to access. It has listed all the files in that download. Okay, it has listed all the files there. Okay, so we don't 1 second, let me close this one. I have to reopen because of the screen resolution, right? I'm not able to show the entire thing. Okay. Let me try to access again. Okay. So now we have set up the repository. You're getting me, right? So if the repository is
Yes.
working fine, we'll be able to see the entire list in that folder. Okay. Now if we want to take a backup, simple command, backup. Okay, we can give any name for the backup actually. Okay, so we can give ICE. Like you can give any name. Okay, I'm just giving as X BKP. Okay, X BKP, and then we can type repository. Okay, so what is the repository that we are going to use? That is Cisco ISE. Okay, please excuse the words that I am using. Okay, in real world we will not use such.
No worries. That's
Then
fine.
we can what backup we need to take. There are two types of backup. Okay, one is ICE configuration backup. So that is the backup that is required actually. Okay, then we have operational backup, that is having only operational data. Okay, so whenever we are doing backup, we have to take configuration backup.
Okay.
So what do you mean by ADOS is, so for each, these are all Linux based, like Unix based operating system, right? So there is a Unix operating system. Above the Unix operating system, Cisco ISE is running. Okay, so the operating system, the kernel that is above which the Cisco ISE software is running, right? That is called ADOS. Okay, so we don't have access to ADOS. Okay, same like in Palo Alto also, right? There is a base Unix image above which the pan OS is running. Okay, so we will not have access to that Unix image. Okay, so or kernel actually. So that in Cisco ISE, that kernel is called ADOS. Only the TAC will be having access to it. This part is clear.
Yes.
So which backup we will be taking? We
The
have to take
operational one.
configuration backup. Okay, and then we have to, next one is I think we can give encryption. Yeah, so do we need to take like for this backup, right? We have to give an encryption key. So nobody can take backup without encryption key. So whenever you are opening the backup, right, it will ask for a password. Okay, so we cannot take backup without encryption key. You're getting me? Okay, so next what we are saying is encryption key itself can be hash or plain text. We'll just for test purpose we'll use the plain text and we'll give password as Cisco. This part is clear. Now if
Yes.
we can do enter. So the commands are very self-explanatory. Okay, you can. Okay. Encryption key must contain. Okay, so encryption key itself has to be a little bit complex, so we cannot use simple password for encryption key. Okay, so we can use okay, just remember this one. This part is clear.
Actually, yes.
So the command to take the backup is backup command. Okay, so it is just taking the backup. Okay, and the command to restore the backup is restore.
I can imagine that you need to use to restore with the same parameters, right?
Yeah, it is self-explanatory. You can just do restore and then you can mark question mark. It will show you, okay, what all parameters you have to give actually.
Okay.
So it will take a little bit of time. Let's let it take that time. So by we can just check on the front end also. So if we want to take backup, right, we have to go to administration. Okay, backup and restore. Okay, so if you see here, the backup is happening. See. So we can set up the repository and we can take the backup from here also, front end also. It is very simple to take the backup, but whenever you are taking the backup, please take the configuration data backup. Okay. So do you know how to take a backup in Cisco ISE? Is that part clear for you guys?
Yes, it is clear for me.
Okay. I wanted to show you how to restore also. Let's see if this is getting completed. It will take a little bit time actually. Okay, so we need the patience and perseverance actually. So in today's session, we have gone through how to configure Tacacs in Cisco ISE. Okay. Any doubts in that one? Everything is clear, right? On the Cisco ISE Tacacs configuration.
Yes, for me it's clear.
Okay. And how to check the logs from the Cisco Tacacs. Okay, we have to go to. If you have, Jose, you can tell me where we can check the logs. Okay. 1 second.
I'm going to tell you after I see the screen in operations. Then you go to Tacacs live logs.
Live logs. Okay, so here we can see the logs actually.
Yes.
So apart from that, we have seen how to take the backup. So for taking backup, you have to go to administration, backup and restore, right? First we need to set up the repository and then we have to use the backup command, and we have restore command also available. So mostly it is preferred to use the backend. We can use the GUI also. Okay. I just cancel that backup. It is taking a lot of time, right? So I have just cancelled it. Now we'll go through the restore actually. So if you do a show backup status, okay, see, there is no backup scheduled. It is showing actually. Okay, backup was aborted by the user. You are able to see, right?
Yes.
So now if you want to restore, we have already assume that we have taken a backup, right? If you want to restore, it is the restore command. Okay, again the same file name. We have to give that file name actually. Okay, that it will be stored in a like in a tar.gpg file. It will be, so we have to take that file name. Okay, we just give file. Okay, and then we have to same thing repository. What was our repository? Cisco ISE BKP. Okay, and then we have to give the encryption key. Encryption key was given in plain, right?
It
We
was.
need to remember the encryption key. Okay, if we forget the encryption key, then gone actually. 1 2 3. Okay, include ADOS. Okay, this part is clear.
Yes.
Okay, So this is for backup and restore. Okay. So in Tacacs configuration, there are a couple of things that is required. One is how to check the logs that we have already seen. The configuration of the policy is very rare because once we have configured it initially, we will not require to be change the policies. Okay, we might not require unless and until a new team is formed or some access is required, right? Some filtered access is required to the network devices. Then only we might need to change the policies. Unless and until that is not required, we don't require to change the policies. Okay, then we have to do a backup and restore. Okay, so whenever there is maintenance or upgrade, right, we will need to do a backup and restore. So this part is clear.
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So yes, that's it for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Santosh.
Thank you, Santosh.
Yeah.